Your boss is not your enemy. He's making you rich, and you're too busy hating him to notice. I know how that sounds. I know somewhere right now you're rolling your eyes ready to close this tab because every algorithm on this platform has spent 3 years telling you the opposite. Quit your job. Escape the matrix. Your boss is a parasite feeding off your labor while you eat ramen and he eats lobster. That story sells. It sells courses. It sells passive income ebooks. It sells the dream of freedom by the slide. And it sold one man everything he had, and it almost cost him everything he was building without even knowing it. This is the story of what happened when he finally listened to that advice, and what he discovered 4 months later that nobody on this platform wants you to hear. Let's call him John. Not his real name, because what I'm about to tell you is embarrassing, and he asked me to protect that. John was 26, working as a mid-level project coordinator at a mid-sized firm, making a salary he called fine. Not exciting, not Lambo money, fine. And like millions of people his age, he spent his lunch breaks watching men in rented Rolls Royces tell him that fine was a trap, that his boss was getting rich off his back, that the real money was in working for yourself. So he did the math. He always did the math. That was actually his job, the thing his employer paid him to be good at. He calculated that if he left, set up as an independent consultant, and landed even half the clients his company served, he'd clear double his salary within 6 months. No boss, no 9 to 5, no glass ceiling built by someone else's name on the door. He handed in his resignation on a Friday. He felt invincible. Here's where the story gets uncomfortable because this is where most of these videos end, with the triumphant quitting moment, the dramatic music, the freeze frame. This is where this video actually begins. Month 1. John built a website. He designed a logo. He posted on LinkedIn about taking the leap. 41 people liked it. 3 commented, "So proud of you." 0 became clients. Month 2. He reached out to 20 companies. He used the pitch deck format he'd seen his old boss use 100 times in client meetings, except he'd never actually built one himself. He'd just watched. He got 2 replies. Both said no. Month 3. He landed 1 client, a small one. He delivered the work using a project management process he'd absorbed almost by osmosis from 2 years of sitting in his old company's planning meetings, a process he'd never once had to design from scratch, because someone else had already built it and handed it to him every single morning. The client paid him on time. It covered about 1/3 of his rent. Month 4. He ran out of savings. He started selling things he didn't need, a watch, an old laptop, a bicycle he hadn't ridden in a year, just to keep the lights on while he chased an invoice that was 45 days late. He told himself this was the grind everyone talks about, the valley before the breakthrough. He'd watched enough of these videos to know the script. Stay the course, trust the process. The breakthrough never came. What came instead was a phone call from his old manager, the one he'd painted as the enemy on his way out the door. Not a gloating call, not an "I told you so." Just a question. "How's it going out there?" John almost lied. He almost said, "Great, busier than ever." Instead, for the first time in 4 months, he told the truth out loud to another human being, and saying it out loud is what cracked something open. Here's the part nobody puts in the thumbnail. When John sat down to figure out why this was so much harder than the internet promised, he didn't find a villain. He found a list of things his old paycheck had quietly been buying him that he never once put a price on. It had been buying him a sales process he didn't have to invent, built over a decade, refined by other people's failures, handed to him for free every time he picked up the phone with a client. It had been buying him a network, quietly, invisibly, every single day he showed up. Every vendor he'd ever emailed, every contact list he'd had access to, every introduction his boss made in passing, gone the day he walked out the door because none of it was actually his. It was rented. He just never noticed the rent. It had been buying him reputation by association. When he said, "I work for this firm," doors opened that simply did not open for, "I'm an independent consultant nobody's heard of," no matter how good his actual work was. It had been buying him risk absorption. When a client didn't pay on time, that wasn't John's problem before. It was the company's cash flow, the company's legal team, the company's bad debt to eat. The day he went independent, every risk that used to belong to someone else moved directly onto his shoulders, and he hadn't priced a single bit of it in. and it had been buying him an education he was getting paid to receive. 2 years of watching senior people make decisions, 2 years of mistakes that cost him nothing because they weren't his mistakes to pay for, that was tuition. Free tuition, with a salary attached that he'd been calling fine. And it had been buying him something he only understood once he was on the other side of a negotiating table, alone: pricing power. Inside the company, prices were set by people with years of data on what clients would actually pay, backed by a brand that had already proven itself. The day he went independent, he had to invent his own number from nothing, with no track record behind it, and no one to validate it but himself. And for 4 months, every client he spoke to could smell that uncertainty and used it to talk him down. This is the part the gurus never mention, because it doesn't fit on a thumbnail. Your paycheck is not just payment for your time. It is a subsidy. Your employer is paying you to learn skills you didn't have to pay for yourself, make connections you didn't have to build from zero, and make mistakes inside a system big enough to absorb them. Mistakes that, made alone, would have ended John in month 2 instead of month 4. That doesn't mean every boss is a saint. Plenty are exploitative. Plenty underpay, overwork, and take credit that isn't theirs. I'm not telling you to worship your manager or stop asking for a raise, ask for the raise, push for the promotion, document every win you're owed credit for. I'm telling you the entire "your boss is your enemy" narrative was never built to make you successful. It was built to make you click. An algorithm doesn't profit from you staying employed and quietly leveling up. It profits from your rage. John went back. Not to the same job, a better one, at a firm willing to pay more for someone who now understood exactly what he'd taken for granted the first time. He still wants to go independent eventually, but this time he's not quitting in a moment of inspired fury. He's extracting everything that job can teach him first: the systems, the contacts, the risk tolerance, on someone else's dime before he ever risks his own. That's the actual unlock nobody sells you, because there's no course in it. The fastest path to working for yourself is not quitting your boss, it's mining him. Every system he's built, every client relationship he's let you near, every mistake you watch him survive, that's capital. You just don't see it as capital because nobody hands you an invoice for it. What does mining actually look like, in practice, instead of just quitting in a blaze of righteous anger? It looks like sitting in on the meetings nobody makes you attend, because that's where the pricing logic lives. It looks like asking the vendor on the phone how they actually found your company, instead of assuming the lead just appeared. It looks like volunteering for the project that's slightly above your role, because that's the one that teaches you what risk actually costs when it's measured in real money instead of theory. None of that shows up on a resume. All of it shows up the day you finally do go out on your own and discover you already know what used to blindside people like John in month 1. So, before you record your own dramatic resignation video, ask yourself the question John wishes someone had asked him much earlier. What exactly is this paycheck buying you that you haven't put a price on yet? Because the day you can answer that, honestly, is the day you actually know whether you're ready to leave or whether you're about to pay, the hard way, for an education you were already getting for free. If this made you see your job differently, you know what to do. Subscribe, because next week, we're taking apart the guru who sold 40,000 people a system he never once used himself.